Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Erik Ten Hag has been sacked as the Manchester United manager. As an Arsenal fan, it's disappointing because I would love to see him continue to be in charge of United these next few months into the season. However, obviously he's been sacked and they've moved on to interim manager Ruud van Nistelrooy. Be interested to see how that goes. But we're going to talk about 15 targets Manchester United could go after, and we're going to talk about their odds from Bet365. We're going to talk about if I think this will happen or not, and why I think that reasoning will be. My reasoning to that, yes or no. We're also going to talk about the managers themselves as we get through this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get it started with our first option, the interim manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Obviously, he's been coaching with Erik Ten Hag this season. He's been an option. Obviously, being an assistant coach, he's been helping out at the team. He's got relationships with players. He's previously managed at PSV before coming into Manchester United as assistant coach. So there was obviously always a little bit of conflict there. A manager that has experience in the Eredivisie coming in to work under Erik Ten Hag, leaving a job as a manager to come be an assistant coach. It didn't make much sense off the bat. Obviously, a United legend, but it didn't make sense to me. But I don't think this one's going to happen, despite him being a 5-2 odds from Bet365. I just don't see this one happening. But is it going to go in this direction where they get another Eredivisie manager, or excuse me, another Dutch manager with only Eredivisie experience? Is it really the best move? I don't think so. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But let's go ahead. Let's move on to our next option. Next option is the former England manager, Gareth Southgate. Again, not the best option, but I do see this one being much more possible. He's 5-1 odds right now, according to Bet365. A little less odds than Ruud van Nistelrooy taking over on a permanent basis, but I do think this one's a little more likely. He's managed England for over 100 games. He knows the lay of the land in England. He knows what he's looking at. He's been in England his entire career as a manager, as a player. We'll just have to wait and see what happens here. I do think he could be an option for United moving forward. Heck, who knows? They may have a manager by the time this video comes out. Obviously, they're being linked with a lot of managers all over the place right now. We'll just have to wait and see. Up next, a one that I think would shock the world is Xavi. Obviously, left Barcelona recently. I just don't see him taking this job at Manchester United. It's a way more. He left a toxic environment in Barca. He won't have the players that will fit his system. This just feels like a disaster for Xavi, a career nightmare. He's going into a team that's not built to play the way he and, that kind of Barcelona tiki-taka version that he would want to be able to implement in the Premier League. Up next is a manager I think would be an excellent appointment. It's Thomas Frank, the current Brentford manager. They'd have to pay out his contract. He's played with many different profiles. He's not a manager who just kind of fits this one mold and kind of sticks with it. He's not stubborn. He's had players come and go. He's had players like Ivan Toney, who just left this past summer, and he doesn't, you don't even notice, because he's had him missing for over a year, and he's already figured out how to change this team to play even better, to be even better without a player like Ivan Toney. And the replacement for Ivan Toney isn't even playing. He's been injured. So it's not even any issue. It's not even an issue for them right now. I think Thomas Frank would come in. He'd be able to fit the system that they need and eventually move to what he wants. But, as they implement players, he's able to adapt to a system. He's not a player it's not a manager that's just one system and no plan B. Julian Nagelsmann is another manager who is being, kind of linked, a big name, a big club in Manchester United. But I don't see this one happening. He's currently the German national team manager. He's a solid manager, has a good name, has connections, but I don't know if this one will happen. I think it would be a good signing. I think it would be a good appointment to have him as the manager of Manchester United. I just don't see it happening, however. Up next is one I think is currently possibly moving to the favorite, Ruben Amorim of Sporting. I do see his name getting tossed around quite a bit right now over the last few hours. This obviously being recorded the day of his sacking. You'll see it the following day. Solid manager. I can't pretend I've seen a lot of him, but I will say this. He's not afraid to leave a club mid-season to continue and go up in his career. He's done the same with Sporting. When he joined Sporting, he left Braga in March of that season, and it will be interesting to see if he would make a similar decision to advance in his career. Up next, another Englishman, Graham Potter, who has obviously been linked with positions before, former Chelsea manager. I don't see it happening, but sure, not my choice personally, but it's an acceptable option, to be fair. Zinedine Zidane is a no from me. Another option. He's 12-1 odds. Former Real Madrid manager. He's waiting on the France job. So even if he takes the Manchester United job, even for whatever reason he takes it, there would be no passion. There would be no, desire to manage Manchester United for Zinedine Zidane. The next manager is a former Manchester United manager, current Fenerbahce manager, and recently drew 1-1 against them. I believe it was 1-1. It might be been 2-2. Drew against Manchester United. Jose Mourinho. It's not happening. It's not happening. For some reason, they've even given him 66-1 odds. I don't even think those odds. I don't even know if 2,000-1 odds I would take for Jose Mourinho to return to Manchester United. Just no chance that's happening, in my opinion. Up next, this one is one I kind of like. I kind of like this option that I'm going to talk about next. He's 22-1 odds, and he's the current Middlesbrough manager, Michael Carrick. He's previously managed as an interim, was solid in his 3 games back. I think it was 2 wins and a draw, or 1 win and 2 draws in those 3 matches that he managed. Didn't lose a match as the interim Manchester United manager. Managed 100 games at Middlesbrough so far, so kind of a perfect round number if he wants to leave. He's managed 100 games and decided to move on. He's won 50 of those games, so it's not bad, but it's a very difficult league, the Championship is. You would expect the team that he has and the resources he has at Middlesbrough for him to earn promotion, but he hasn't done so yet. He hasn't really gotten over the line. He's been kind of battling it out, but has been a consistently good manager in the Championship. Does he deserve a step up? I'm not quite sure. I think he plays a style that is very good, is very appealing to a lot of Premier League teams. It just hasn't worked in the Championship. It hasn't really proven and shown that he can do it in a big club yet. Up next is Massimo Allegri. I don't see happening. He was at Juve last season and he left, and the players and system will not fit him. I don't think his system suits the Premier League. I don't think a 3-5-2 is going to fit in the Premier League anymore. I think, when we saw Conte doing it, it was successful. Now it's not working for him. When he was at Spurs, obviously, not seeing many 3-back formations in the Premier League much more. You see it kind of in the mid-table, lower table. I think Glasner is messing with it right now at 3-back. I'm more of a 3/5 because he plays with those right-back, left-back, wing-backs. But I don't think that this is going to be a system that suits the Premier League. I don't think Allegri, especially at the top part of the Premier League, I don't see it working out. So I think this one's a pretty heavy no. It's 18-1 odds. It could happen, but I'm very doubtful. Up next is Edin Terzic, last at Dortmund. I say sure on this one. I think, he's a young, hungry German manager who's got to a Champions League final with Dortmund. He's a fantastic manager. And at United, he might have the tools he needs. He may have to bring in a player or two, but he's got some solid options at United that he could work with. I think system-wise, he could find players that suit him. But obviously that's a very difficult job to come into. Is he ready for it? I'm not quite sure. We'll just have to wait and see what the next step of his career is. Obviously, I don't think it will be Manchester United, but I wouldn't be mad at it if I was a United fan. Up next is personally one of my options that I think should be heavily linked with this position, but he has no odds on Bet365. In fact, he's not really a favorite for any of these positions. He's a manager that really took them until the final minute took this United team to the final minute on the opening day of the season. It's Fulham's manager, Marco Silva. He has been fantastic in the Premier League. He has adapted. He lost Palhinha and Tim Ream, the captain, so he lost his best player and his captain in the same summer, and it has not even phased them. Similar reason to Thomas Frank. He's adjusted as necessary. I think he's playing Pereira as an 8. I don't even know who the 6 is right now at Fulham. Can't remember off the top of my head. But yes, I think this one should happen. If they had gone after him, I think he should take it. I think that it would be very fitting for him to go there. Up next is Ipswich manager Kieran McKenna. I don't see this one happening. Just not the necessary fit. I see him fitting mid-table at a club, the size of a West Ham. If Marco Silva took the job, would he take the job at, Fulham? Would he take the job at a club that kind of sits there in the middle of the Premier League table, a Crystal Palace eventually when Glasner leaves. Obviously Glasner, I don't think is leaving anytime soon. He's not even an option I have here. But, manager, I think he's a good manager. I just don't think he's ready for that step up yet, especially with the pressure that he will have at a United versus a Ipswich Town. And then lastly, the manager that I'm going to talk about finally, is Eddie Howe. I think he's a great manager. I think he's very solid. I could see this move, but similar to the betting odds, I'm doubtful. 25-1 odds. This would be a Dan Ashworth move. Dan Ashworth left Newcastle as the director of football. He's now the sporting director at Manchester United. Could we see him go and pick out Eddie Howe from Newcastle to bring him to Manchester? We'll just have to wait and see. I don't think this one will happen. I would even be interested to see if this did happen. What does this mean for Newcastle moving forward? They now lost their sporting director and their manager to Manchester United. Do they start losing players to Manchester United? Do they start losing players to other clubs as they look like, okay, why can't our sporting director and our manager stay on the project? Why should I stay with this project? So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. But that's all from me here. If you enjoyed this video at all, be sure to hit a like button and comment down below videos you want to see in the future. We're going to talk about, obviously, whoever they do appoint, we're going to do a keep or sell for that, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.